Why didn't anyone see this coming? Why has the world been left speechless by what Jungkook just revealed? And more importantly, why did he choose this exact moment to break his silence? In a world full of noise, one voice has just pierced through louder than ever, and it belongs to BTS Golden Magne. Yes, you read that right. Jungkook has just made an announcement that is sending shockwaves across the globe, and you're not going to believe what he's been keeping from even his closest fans. It began with a single post, brief, cryptic, and almost impossible to decipher. A black and white image, no caption, no hashtags. Just a timestamp and the unmistakable silhouette of Jungkook under a single spotlight. Within minutes, ARMY around the world were in a frenzy. Was it a teaser for a new song? A collaboration? A message from the military base? What no one expected was the truth behind the post. Because this wasn't just another comeback. It wasn't a music release. It was something deeply personal, something Jungkook had carried in silence for years. The story goes back to before BTS debuted. Before the lights, the fame, the sold-out stadiums. Back when Jungkook was just a boy with a dream and a voice too big for the small rooms he practiced in. Even then, there was something different about him, not just the talent but the purpose. And now, after years of global stardom, he has finally revealed the reason behind his relentless drive, a promise he made to someone very special, and the fulfillment of that promise is what has now stunned millions. Jungkook's surprise announcement was not about himself. It was about someone else. Someone who'd been in the shadows, standing quietly behind every achievement, every tear, every triumph. His mother. And while the world celebrated his success, what no one realized was that every note he sang, every hour he spent perfecting his art, was all for her. Not just out of gratitude, but something more profound. A promise made in childhood during a moment of hardship that shaped everything that followed. In a heartfelt video message released without warning, Jungkook appeared not as the superstar the world knows, but as the son he has always been. With eyes brimming with emotion, he began to share a story no one expected. There was a time, he began, when my mother cried herself to sleep. I was too young to understand it all then, but I made a promise to myself. I told myself that one day I would give her a reason to smile again. And he did. Every step of his journey, every sleepless night, was for that promise. But here's where the surprise becomes even more staggering. Jungkook didn't just speak about it. He did something that left even his fellow BTS members speechless. He revealed a project 10 years in the making. Something he kept hidden, something even the most loyal ARMY members had no clue about. He had been building a foundation, a secret initiative in his mother's name, to support struggling single mothers and children in South Korea who faced the same pain he once witnessed at home. The scale of the project is enormous and utterly unexpected. From scholarships to housing programs, medical aid to mental health support, Jungkook had built an entire support system quietly, without any media attention, using his own earnings. For 10 years, he had been setting aside a portion of every paycheck, every endorsement, every royalty. The announcement came with documents, images, testimonies from families already impacted by the project. The world watched in silence, then in tears. The emotional weight of his confession was more than just moving, it was transformative. Fans began to dig back through old footage, interviews, even lyrics. Suddenly, things began to click. Words that once seemed poetic now felt like confessions. Performances once seen as artistic now felt deeply personal. The story Jungkook had been telling wasn't fictional. It was a coded memoir of a boy who turned pain into power, silence into song. But the announcement didn't end there. Jungkook revealed that the next phase of the project includes a music album unlike any he's ever created. An album not for charts, not for awards, but for healing. Each song is dedicated to a different chapter of his mother's life. And in a shocking twist, the final track will feature something that has never been done in K-pop history, a voice note from his mother, recorded without her knowing it would ever be public. The rawness of that recording, the crack in her voice as she speaks to her son, unaware of the world listening in, is something even the most stoic viewers couldn't handle. It is not a performance. It is life, unfiltered and unbearably real. Why did Jungkook wait until now to share this? Why keep such a profound mission hidden for so long? As he explained in his video, "I wanted to finish it first. I didn't want this to be a promise halfway kept." This level of maturity, restraint, and love has left the world stunned. Suddenly, Jungkook is not just an idol. He is a symbol of quiet sacrifice, of loyalty, of love so deep it shaped a global phenomenon in silence. And now, the countdown begins. The album has no official release date. He says it will come when the story is ready to end. But what we do know is that the world will be watching, listening, and healing with him. This isn't just news. It's history. And it's still unfolding. The question now isn't just what Jungkook has done, but how many lives he will change by doing it.so. What did Jungkook just announce?
A surprise? Yes.
But more than that, a legacy. And we were here to witness it from the very beginning. Stay tuned. The story of Jungkook's heart has only just begun. Long before the cheers of stadiums and the roaring sea of lightsticks, Jungkook was sacrificing more than most knew. Fans saw a star in bloom, but they never saw the nights he trained through injuries, or the birthday meals skipped because he was working double shifts. They never saw the nights he stayed behind in the studio when everyone else had gone home, whispering the same words to himself over and over. Make her proud. Make her proud. It wasn't always glamorous. In fact, most of it was heartbreakingly quiet. Friends from his trainee days began to speak out after the announcement. One recalled how Jungkook once gave away a new pair of shoes sent by a sponsor to another trainee who couldn't afford his own. He said he'd get another pair later. But he never did, the friend admitted. Staff from Big Hit Entertainment also opened up. One producer said Jungkook used to stay back to help clean up the studio, even when he wasn't scheduled. It was like he was trying to repay the world for something. Now, we understand why. The sacrifices didn't end when he debuted. If anything, they intensified. Jungkook refused to buy luxury items for years, despite being one of the highest-paid idols in history.
No designer obsession, no extravagant purchases.
Instead, that money was silently going elsewhere. It was only now, through leaked donation receipts and non-profit filings tied to his foundation, that the full picture emerged. Every ARMY fan knows the iconic clips of Jungkook staying behind after concerts, bowing to empty seats, as if thanking every soul individually. But now, those bows carry a different weight. They were not just gratitude for fame. They were a son's whisper to a mother who couldn't be in the crowd. A silent vow that he had kept his promise. Next, we'll dive into the hidden meanings behind Jungkook's lyrics over the past decade. Lines that once seemed abstract now unravel as the emotional breadcrumbs of a silent mission. Was he trying to tell us all along? How long has Jungkook been leaving us clues? How many times did we sing his words, unaware that they were the blueprint of a son's devotion? Now that the truth has been revealed, fans around the world are revisiting his discography with new eyes, and what they're finding is heartbreaking, beautiful, and undeniable. The lyrics weren't just songs. They were messages. Let's go back to 2016. BTS released Begin, a solo track by Jungkook in the Wings album. At the time, fans took it as a tender dedication to his fellow members, but hidden between those lines was a deeper confession. You make me begin, he sang with trembling sincerity. But what if those words weren't only for his youngs? What if they were echoing a much older beginning, the day he made that promise to his mother as a child? I was so young I didn't know anything, he sings. I could only watch you cry. Did we miss it? Were we too distracted by the brilliance of the performances to hear the pain behind the poetry? One ARMY posted online, I always cried when I heard Begin, but now I understand why. It wasn't just emotion, it was truth. He was singing to her. And that's just the start. In 2020's Map of the Soul, 7, Jungkook released My Time. The song was widely praised for its introspective look at growing up in the spotlight. But re-listening now, every word feels sharper. I want to find my time, he croons. Maybe I'll find it in the past. Was he reaching back to a time before fame, before the noise, to the quiet moments with his mother, when a boy's only dream was to see her smile? The real turning point, however, came with Golden, his first solo album. At the time, fans were moved by its raw vulnerability. But hidden in plain sight were lyrics that now feel like open letters. In Standing Next to You, he sings, "Even if the world turns its back, I'll be standing next to you." Was that a metaphor for romantic love? Or was it a vow he made years ago, standing beside a woman who raised him alone, against all odds? What's even more stunning is how subtle he was. Jungkook never once made it obvious. He never sought sympathy, never used his pain as a selling point. Instead, he encoded his life into melodies and metaphors. In Still With You, a track he released during BTS Festa celebration, the longing in his voice was unmistakable. The rain still stops. I get drenched / I want to run away, but I see you. To many, it felt like a love song. But now, it feels like a scene from his childhood. Watching his mother cry through storms she couldn't explain to him. One of the most emotional discoveries came from a fan who reverse-engineered his lyrics and matched them to events in Jungkook's life timeline. They found that lyrics from Euphoria mirrored a turning point in his early teens, a period where he almost gave up training to return home, fearing he was failing. But he stayed. And what followed was a promise not broken, but fulfilled. Even in group songs, his lines now carry a second meaning. In Magic Shop, he sings, "You gave me the best of me, so you'll give you the best of you." At the time, it was an anthem of healing for fans. But now, it reads like a conversation with his younger self. A reminder that every drop of effort, every tear, would lead to something greater. What makes this revelation even more powerful is that Jungkook never asked to be seen. He never called attention to these meanings. He left them like breadcrumbs, scattered across years, albums, verses, waiting for someone to put the pieces together. And now we have. Or at least we've begun to. The full truth of his journey may never be known. But the emotional map he left behind in song tells a story more honest than any interview, more raw than any documentary. A boy who watched his mother suffer and made a vow to rewrite their fate, and then quietly, humbly, wrote it into history. Next time you listen to a Jungkook song, ask yourself, what else have we missed? What other secrets has he left in the shadows, wrapped in harmonies and hushed verses? The lyrics are no longer just lyrics. They are confessions. They are evidence. They are love, encrypted, eternal, and now finally understood. Who would have imagined that a single revelation could make the world pause? That the quiet, coded lyrics of Jungkook's songs would spark not only a wave of heartbreak, but an uprising of gratitude, respect, and overwhelming love? No one predicted how the army, the millions who have walked every step with BTS, would respond to what Jungkook finally let slip. And what happened next left even him in tears. It started slowly. A few posts, a handful of tweets, but within hours it exploded. Hashtags like hashtag thank you Jungkook and hashtag JK for his mom began trending globally. Not for a comeback, not for a birthday. This time it was something deeper, something personal. Fans around the world, from Seoul to Sao Paulo, from Jakarta to Johannesburg, came together, not to celebrate the idol, but the Sun.1 fan wrote, "We knew Jungkook was selfless, but this was devotion. He didn't just give us music, he gave his life to protect his mother's." Another posted a video of themselves listening to Begin Again in tears, whispering, "I didn't know, I didn't see, but now I do." What moved the world wasn't just the sacrifice. It was the silence in which it was carried. 10 years. 10 years of carrying a burden in secret. 10 years of smiles on camera while worries festered off screen. 10 years of making millions feel seen while hiding his own story. Fans began creating tribute videos. Edits showing Jungkook's early trainee days intercut with the lyrics now recognized as odes of love. Artworks of him holding his mother's hand, captions quoting his hidden messages. Entire fan projects were launched, donations to single mothers organizations, support for young artists, and even scholarships in his name. But perhaps the most emotional moment came during a fan live stream. Jungkook, unaware of the full impact, opened a casual stream to thank fans for their ongoing support. He wasn't expecting what greeted him. The comments poured in. "You're not alone. We see you now. You did it, Jungkook. You kept your promise." His expression changed. First confusion, then realization, then visible emotion. He covered his face briefly, trying to hold back tears. "Why are you all like this today?" he asked with a laugh. But his voice cracked. It was the first time fans saw Jungkook speechless. The silence in that moment said more than words could. And ARMY didn't need him to explain. They had already understood. They had heard the truth in the lyrics, seen the boy behind the superstar, and embraced the man who had given everything, asking for nothing. And what came next, no one was ready for it. Big hit, moved by the global response, released a never-before-seen video. It featured Jungkook at 15, freshly arrived in Seoul, sitting in a bare trainee dorm room. In the clip, he holds a photo of his mother, tucked into the inside pocket of his jacket. He looks into the camera and says, "One day, I'll give her the life she dreamed of, even if it takes everything."
It was raw.
It was real. It was the moment everything changed. Now, his fans weren't just cheering for a performer. They were standing beside a son who had fulfilled a vow. And somehow, through music, through mystery, through heartbreak and healing, Jungkook's story had become everyone's story. What happens when the world finally hears the truth? They listen. They remember. And they never let go.